Welcome to Forbes Talks. Joining me now is Jabari Young, senior writer at Forbes. Jabari, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Brittany. This is the second time in 2 weeks. Wow, I feel really special.
I feel really special. Usually you're in this seat. Now I have you in the hot seat. So love to see it. But you just wrote for Forbes, quote, before Deshaun Watson takes the field Sunday in his season debut as quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, he's already altered the financial balance of power in the National Football League. Can you explain how?
Yes, because Deshaun Watson has a fully guaranteed deal, Brittany, and it's not just any fully guaranteed deal. It is the most expensive contract, fully guaranteed deal in the NFL history, $230 million that the Cleveland Browns gave him in March. Now, what does that do, right? If you have a fully guaranteed deal and you're a guy like Deshaun Watson, who we know doesn't have the best image at the time, but he still is able to garner that type of deal. I think the trickle down, it could be very interesting to see what that's going to do to other NFL contracts. A guy like Lamar Jackson, who was in Baltimore, who was up for a contract extension, is changing his as far as saying, hey, I want fully guaranteed money now, not just guaranteed money, because that's what you see always thrown out when you see the NFL headlines. It's, oh, guaranteed, guaranteed. No, not just guaranteed money, fully guaranteed money. That's every single dime in that contract is yours, not partial, not if you reach an incentive, fully guaranteed money, every single dime. That's game changing. And if that were to change, if players start to, desire that type of deal like a Deshaun Watson, it changes the economics of things. Still too early to kind of say if that's going to happen, but certainly when you see that type of contract, get signed, you have to think, is it going to, impact future deals down the line?
I do want to break this all down, but first, let's start with Deshaun Watson
Yeah.
specifically. You said he has an image problem right now. Where has he been?
Well, listen, he's just coming back. He's making his season debut after being suspended, because, violating the NFL's personal conduct policy, which, stems from allegations of 24 women who accused him of sexual, misconduct. So, you suffer that suspension, you go through your image, problem that, he's still kind of, rebranding himself. And obviously, if you win, a lot of that stuff takes care of itself. But, he's in the basement right now. He's in the dungeon of NFL players when it comes down to brand, to marketability. Definitely a dynamic player. Last time we saw him on the field, I don't know how that's going to translate. He hasn't played in a while, but that's where he's been.
You said he's in the dungeon and he hasn't played in the NFL since 2020. So why is he getting this type of contract?
Listen, he's getting this type of contract because this is the type of contract that was offered to him. When anybody slaps a contract on the table, especially if you're Deshaun Watson, again, we just said he had an image problem, but the Browns say, hey, we don't care. We're giving you $230 million fully guaranteed to come and play quarterback for us. The most important position in the NFL is the quarterback position. We know this. Listen, if you're Deshaun Watson, you take that deal, knowing that you may not, get the endorsement money that you would have gotten had your image remained clean. So now you're kind of making it up for all of that. But, listen, no one can argue that his first few seasons in the NFL, Deshaun Watson has shown nothing but stardom. He's made the Pro Bowl. He's 1-2 in the playoffs, right? I mean, he has shown he's a stardom. You look at his comeback attempts. You go back and look at when he's first gotten into the NFL to, over the last 4 years. He's one of the few NFL quarterbacks who knows how to come back from deficits and win football games. Again, we talk about the quarterback position, one of the most important in all of sports, not just the NFL, because not only the pressure that you have to go out and win, but you're the face of the franchise. You are the face of the franchise when you think of all the NFL quarterbacks. And so, it's an important position to have. And if you don't have a quarterback in the NFL, you don't win, right? And so Deshaun Watson has proven on the field that he is a dynamic quarterback. Whether or not the Browns are going to get that same guy coming back after everything that's happened, we'll see. And they're obviously betting $230 million that they will.
The quarterback is the face of the franchise, but the behavior that he was accused of is really, really despicable. Do you think that decision to fully guarantee him will cost the NFL any business?
Maybe. It's too early to say. I mean, listen, this is the first time he's going to be playing all season. Right? So with that, I mean, you could see protests. You could see, you've already had some of the accusers. They're not in favor of him necessarily probably continue his career. Now they all settled, and 23 of them have settled. So whether or not he can get that, out, and whether or not he can, I guess, get over that, the brand problem. Listen, Brittany, that's going to be for him. I'm not going to sit up here and try to defend anything that Deshaun Watson has been accused of or anything that he's done. I understand the serious allegations of it. Women viewers could get turned off by this, but at the same time, listen, at the end of the day, this still is the NFL. This still is sports. This still is entertainment. And the game that he's coming back is going to be against the Houston Texans. I'm sure it's going to be a highly rated game, and I'm sure it's going to be a lot of media hoopla around it. And again, his contract and the massive contract that it is, we'll see if that has an impact on the NFL business in the coming years.
In your story, you talked to an executive, Mike Tannenbaum, who is an executive for both the Miami Dolphins as well as the New York Jets. And he said that this type of deal, the Browns really assume all the risk. Why are they willing to do that?
Why are they willing to do it? Listen, I tried to ask Jimmy Haslam that. The Browns declined to comment, so I don't know. But again, you go back into what you see on the field from Deshaun Watson, and historically, right before the allegations hit the public surface, he was a dynamic quarterback, right? He was a very good quarterback. He hasn't played in a long time, and maybe that benefits him. We'll see. But, if he comes back and he's that dynamic quarterback again, I think he overcomes this. Remember, he's not the first person that this has ever happened to. You can go all the way back to, Ben Roethlisberger when he was accused of it, even in other sports. It's not like this is something that's new, but it's still serious. And it's still something that, when it happens, you're always thinking, hey, why is that player getting another shot? Well, again, it's sports. And we've seen throughout sports, when players do have those type of allegations tied to their name, if they're talented enough, people seem to look past it. And in this case, it's the same thing.
I do want to get back to the fully guaranteed contract piece of this. Is that unprecedented in the NFL?
Yeah, it is. $230 million. That nobody's ever been promised that money before. Even Patrick Mahomes, who's won a Super Bowl, Aaron Rodgers, who's won a Super Bowl, Russell Wilson, who's won a Super Bowl. These guys, Super Bowl, MVP caliber quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson has achieved none of that. Absolutely none of that at all. A dynamic quarterback, has a lot of talent, but has not won a Super Bowl, has not led his team all the way, lifting a Vince Lombardi trophy. Even if he got to the Super Bowl and he lost, he hasn't done it. He hasn't won an MVP. So, when you look at his resume and you say, why does he deserve $230 million and these other guys didn't? Well, it's leverage, right? The Browns thought that they wanted a quarterback after Baker Mayfield proved that he's incapable of leading the NFL franchise. They were desperate. Jimmy Haslam paid over $900 million for this franchise. He wants to win. And so what do you do when you're worth $5 billion, like Forbes estimates Jimmy Haslam is worth? He can go out and he can foot the bill to pay Deshaun Watson $230 million and deal with the public relations nightmare that comes with it.
The deal is first of its kind, as you're saying. So do you think it's going to change anything?
Could, maybe. Again, before this call, for transparency, me and you were talking about just how name and play a factor in that, right? Well, when you look at the leverage in NFL contracts, it's always that signing bonus money that, seems to be the bait. And players take it because you're talking about players who don't have a dime to their name and are getting into this business. And obviously you get into it as a rookie. You're a first round pick. You got your fully guaranteed. Was that money going to extend? Because you're talking about that's a little bit of money compared to what you could make. And so, listen, if you get the name, if the name, image, and likeness, if that continues to, and it will continue, if that shifts the college landscape the way that we predict it will, you'll have star players in college coming into the NFL already with money in their hands. That means they don't have to just jump at the signing bonus. They can go after the fully guaranteed money. No longer do you have to leave money on the table. We'll see how that works because every player is not the same. And some players come and they burn through too much money. They got too much financial problems. They need that money. They need that upfront money to be able to upkeep the lifestyle of an NFL player. It's all going to be something to monitor. How players' behavior change with the name, image, and likeness. How teams react to players who may say, hey, I want a fully guaranteed deal, right? Do they say, hey, don't take the fully guaranteed deal. We'll put even more signing bonus on money on the table, which is what some executives think. It's going to all be interesting to see how it's going to play out over the next few years. Again, pay attention to the player behavior, name, image, and likeness, and see how that impacts guys' thinking when it comes to negotiating deals and if they pass that message down to their representatives.
Is this putting more power in the hands of the players?
It could, but if we know ask for fully guaranteed money, we definitely know they'll be getting more, they'll be wealthier. But, listen, players have always had the power, right? The NFL, the NBA, MLB, they don't exist without players, right? You need players. When we went through that was one of the first things you saw the NFL do, apologize to black players, because they know it's the talent that feeds the ecosystem of sports, right? I mean, that's what it is. People want to see the talent. They want to see the players. They come in the NFL, yeah, you can say the name and the logo, but guess what? It's not only about that. They want to see the performances and the players. And so they've always had the power. It's about using the leverage, and it's about using that power, using the data that the National Football Players Association provides those agents, that provides the players, and say, take this data back to the team and tell them why you deserve a fully guaranteed deal. I mean, that's the type of stuff that they need to do. And so it's not going to shift the power until the players start using their leverage. And if that happens, then we'll see if the ecosystem changes. Some people say it's not going to happen because the players, the trickle down won't get that far, right? Players are still going to take upfront money, because when you have a zero money in your pocket and an NFL team is saying, take the $100 million now, or take the $180 million in 10 years, there's a lot of people that might say, I'll take the $100 million now, because they just want the money now. They don't want to wait over that period of 10 years. You'll still have people do that. And then you'll have guys who maybe don't need it. Kirk Cousins was one of them. He saved, he didn't spend, and he went out, he played the market, and he got a fully guaranteed contract. Also in that article, Mike Tannenbaum says, right, guys who bet on themselves and hit the free agent market in the NFL seem to get better deals.
I feel like going from 0 to 100 million, that could be pretty tempting for a lot of people here. But what has the response been from both players and owners to Deshaun Watson's deal?
You know, I'll be going on the NFL owners meeting in December, and I'll be curious, because, you know, this is all new. The NFL Players Association, they filed a grievance thinking that there's some conspiracy as to why more fully guaranteed deals don't exist. So, you know, I want to monitor that to see what happens and see what the reaction is. It's so new. Deshaun Watson just got this money in March. The NFL Players Association filed in October. It's still so new. Something to monitor. And that's what I said. As Deshaun Watson comes back to the field, his contract, not only his play, will be at the topic of discussion when it comes to NFL business. And again, to see what changes from an economic standpoint. So it's not something that's going to happen overnight. You're not going to see the results next year. It's something to monitor over from now to the end of the decade to see if anything changes. And by the end of the decade, if we see more fully guaranteed deals, way more than we see now.
You know, one player that must be watching this closely is Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson, who was the 2019 NFL MVP. So do you think that this is going to change or impact his negotiations at all?
So far, it already is, right? They haven't agreed to a deal. And Lamar Jackson, you know, if you believe reports and local reports coming out of Baltimore, has asked for fully money. He has every right to, you know, and will he get that fully guaranteed money? Who knows, right? Will he at the end of this season say, you know what? I don't want all fully guaranteed money. I'll take this portion, because I also want to make sure that my team, and this is another factor for Brittany, has enough money to put the guys around me that I need to win. And if he wins, that's going to mean more endorsement money. So you'll make it up somewhat. Or does he stand firm and say, I want the fully guaranteed money? That impacts things. It impacts budgets. And you may not have the roster around him that he probably wants or he probably needs to win, but he gets his fully guaranteed money. So it's something to pay attention to. But right now he's saying that's what he wants. The Baltimore Ravens saying, hey, well, we don't do business like that. We'll see who comes in and we'll see who budges.
Obviously, football is an extremely physical sport. So why can't the NFL fully guarantee every player?
Too much money. Too much money. I mean, you're talking over 2,000 players that you have to fully guarantee. And remember, the injury rate in football is so. Those guys, 2,000, you have a roster of 50 plus players, right? And then if 3 or 4 guys go down to injury, which we always see, season injury, those contracts are guaranteed. And then you got to go and replace those guaranteed contracts. Too much money. Insurance would be too much to maintain, and teams wouldn't make enough money. So, you know, you can't have too many fully guaranteed deals, because also, right, what people don't remember or they don't take into consideration, because it's not necessarily mentioned all the time. And that is once you fully guarantee a player contract in the NFL, that team has to then take that money and put it in escrow every dime. Not too many people can afford to do that. Jimmy Haslam could with the Browns, right? But not too many other NFL owners could possibly afford to take a significant amount of money and put it in escrow to support it. And so I don't think you'll ever see every player fully guaranteed, but I think you'll start to see more and more again, especially as name, image, and likeness continues to accelerate in the college space.
You said Jimmy Haswell was positioned that he could put that money in escrow. So are some teams better positioned than others to fully guarantee players?
Yeah, they are, and it becomes a game of the have and the have-nots, right? And this is why Jimmy used the fully guaranteed clause because anybody else got Deshaun Watson right now? Absolutely not. The Browns do. Why? Because they fully guaranteed it. A rare, rare thing that teams fully guarantee contracts. But when you're desperate, as the Browns said, as it appears that they were in this situation, when you're desperate, these are the things that you have to do to go out and win. And if the Browns win 2 or 3 Super Bowls in the next 5 years, right? That contract perhaps looks cheap because the benefit that you'll get from that will far exceed what you're probably paying Deshaun Watson. But if it doesn't work and he doesn't win, what does it mean? And what does it mean for other deals going forward? I mean, we'll see.
I do want to talk about going forward. So what do fully guaranteed deals look like for the NFL as a business long term?
Again, it's still too early to tell because you want to see if, Lamar Jackson is able to get a fully guaranteed deal. And if he is able to get a fully guaranteed deal, right, that is definitely going to change the dynamics because you have other young quarterbacks, other young players, a generational star in Dallas and Michael Parsons who might also try to use that and try to lure fully guaranteed deals themselves. And so, it could mess with the economics because, the NFL operates on a hard salary cap. And so maybe cost certainty, for some teams, it gets an impact a little bit. But it's still too early to tell. This is just something to monitor to see exactly how the landscape could shift. Again, with a lot of pieces, have to play their role to see if we're on the verge of seeing more fully guaranteed deals throughout the NFL. I think, yes, over time, but still too early to predict how many you'll see change.
Well, we will definitely be keeping our eye on this. Jabari Young, thank you so much.
Thanks, Brittany.